After World War II,
The 1980s Miami drug war was wild, but nothing beats the River Cops scandal, the moment the paperwork proved the police were the cartel. It started at a Miami River dock. A gang raided a boat packed with 400 keys, the logs at the Miami Police Department. They found that a specific squad of rogue officers, young, heavily armed, and working the midnight shift, had cleared themselves from dispatch right before the raid. Their official logs put them miles away, but gas receipts, vehicle tracking, and overlapping shift reports placed them directly at the river. The paperwork unmasked a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise operating right out of precinct headquarters. The cops were the crew. Comment part 2 if you want us to take a deep dive.
What if I told you one of the strangest conspiracy theories in America is sitting in plain sight at an airport? Denver International Airport opened in 1995, but people immediately started asking questions. Why did it cost billions over budget? Why was it built so far from the city? Why are there underground tunnels big enough for vehicles? And why does the artwork look like the world is ending? You've got murals showing soldiers, fire, crying children, and dead animals. Then outside, there's that giant blue horse statue with glowing red eyes, the same statue that killed its creator when part of it fell on him. That alone sounds like a movie. The official story says the tunnels are for baggage and transportation. The murals are about peace after chaos. The strange plaques and symbols are just art. But conspiracy theorists say different. They claim the airport hides underground bunkers, secret government facilities, even New World Order meeting spaces. Is it proof? No. But when a place looks that creepy, costs that much, and has that many weird details, people are going to ask questions. So what do you think? Is Denver Airport just misunderstood architecture, or is something hidden underneath? November 22nd, 1987, Chicago. Sports fans across the city are watching the evening news when suddenly, the screen cuts out. For a few seconds, viewers see nothing but static. Then a strange man appears. He's wearing a rubber max headroom mask, sunglasses, and a trench coat. The background is moving metal sheets spinning behind him like some kind of low-budget nightmare. The voice is distorted. The man laughs, mumbles nonsense, mocks television personalities, and starts acting completely insane on live TV. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew how he got on the air. And this wasn't some internet prank. This happened on real television, during an actual broadcast in one of America's biggest cities. Even creepier? The hijacker managed to interrupt 2 separate stations that night. One of them was a PBS station. The other interruption lasted almost 90 seconds before engineers finally killed the signal. To this day, the FBI has never officially solved the case, and some people believe the man behind the mask knew a lot more about television systems than he ever should have. What really happened that night in Chicago?
January 29th, 2022, Canton, Massachusetts. A brutal snowstorm was moving through the area when Boston police officer John O'Keefe never made it home. Earlier that night, O'Keefe had been out drinking with his girlfriend, Karen Reed, and a group of friends. The night eventually led them to a party at the home of another Boston police officer, Brian Albert. But according to investigators, something happened before John ever made it inside. Hours later, just after 6 a.m., Karen Reed and 2 other women returned to the house during the blizzard. What they found would launch one of the most controversial murder cases in America. John O'Keefe was lying motionless in the snow outside the home, frozen, unresponsive. His body showed signs of severe injuries to the head and arm. Panic immediately set in. Witnesses later claimed Karen Reed was screaming, "Did I hit him? Did I hit him?" But almost immediately, questions started piling up. Why was his body outside for hours during a snowstorm? Why did nobody inside the house see him? And why would this case eventually divide the entire internet? Because investigators were about to uncover evidence that made the timeline far more complicated than anyone expected. June 10th, 1912. 8 people lay dead in the small town of Villisca, Iowa. But this isn't just a ghost story, it's a museum of failed justice. Welcome to the Villisca Axe Murder House. To win the museum TikTok contest, we're digging into the indictments that never stuck. Look at the crime scene paperwork. The killer didn't just flee, they stayed. They covered every mirror in the house with cloths. Why? Was it a ritual? Or were they afraid of seeing their own reflection? Even more bizarre, a 4-pound slab of bacon was found in the guest room, wrapped in a towel near the murder weapon. Investigators pointed fingers at Reverend Lynn George Jacqueline Kelly, a traveling preacher with a history of mental instability who confessed, then recanted. Or was it State Senator Frank Jones, caught in a bitter business feud with the victim Josiah Moore? 30 parts, 30 deep dives into the evidence that still haunts these halls. This is more than a visit. It's a cold case reopening.
Hollywood made it look like one man exposed the truth, and the system destroyed him for it. In Kill the Messenger, Gary Webb uncovers a CIA-linked pipeline that helped fuel the crack epidemic in black communities. The movie paints it like a straight line, drug money funding wars and the government looking the other way. But the real story? It's messier and way more debated. Gary Webb did publish the Dark Alliance series, linking Nicaraguan Contra groups to cocaine trafficking in the U.S. And yes, figures connected to that network ended up tied to dealers like Freeway Rick Ross. But major outlets pushed back hard. They said Webb overstated the CIA's role and simplified a much bigger drug network. Later investigations, they confirmed connections, but not a direct plot to flood black neighborhoods with crack. And that's where the story flips. Because whether it was intentional or just ignored, the result was the same. Communities got destroyed, lives got lost, and the truth still sits somewhere in the middle. What do you believe the truth is? Because
3 men walk into a shop. They aren't there for the speakers. In 1974 Ogden, Utah, the hi-fi shop was the scene of a crime so sadistic, it felt like a horror movie come to life. Courtney Naisbitt and 4 others were forced into the basement at gunpoint. But the robbers didn't just want the money, they wanted to erase the witnesses. They forced the victims to drink liquid drain cleaner. It was a slow, agonizing method of execution that defied logic. When that didn't work fast enough, the violence escalated. Miraculously, Courtney survived, though his life was forever changed. One of the killers, Dale Selby Pierre, became the first person executed in Utah in over a decade. But the motive remained a void of senseless cruelty. As the police processed the scene, they found a chilling detail. The killers had been watching a movie earlier that day that mirrored their exact tactics, which is why it's so terrifying when...
Do you know where the term Banana Republic comes from? Most people never learned about this in school. But for over 30 years, the U.S. was quietly invading countries across Latin America. They called it the Banana Wars. From the early 1900s to the 1930s, U.S. forces entered places like Honduras, Nicaragua, and Haiti. The reason? Officially, stability. But in reality, it was about protecting American business interests, especially fruit companies exporting bananas back to the U.S. Entire governments were influenced, replaced, or controlled, all to keep trade flowing. That's actually where the term Banana Republic comes from. Countries whose economies and politics were shaped by foreign corporations. And here's the wild part. These interventions helped shape modern tensions and political instability in the region that still exists today. Do you think economic power is more influential than military power? Follow for the history they don't put in textbooks and subscribe to the YouTube.
Sonny Liston wasn't just a heavyweight champion. He was a man many believed was owned by the mafia. Before he ever fought Muhammad Ali, Liston had deep ties to organized crime. Mob figures helped control his career, his money, and allegedly, his fights. That's why the 1965 rematch still feels off. Ali hit him with what's now called the Phantom Punch, but watch it closely. Liston drops fast, barely officially, heroin overdose. But Liston hated needles. There was barely any drug evidence, and he'd been dead for days. So now the question hits different. Was Sonny Liston controlled in the ring and silenced outside of it? Or is this just one of boxing's darkest coincidences? Follow for more OC Street Files. Subscribe to the OC Street Files on YouTube for full episodes and to catch the live stream Sundays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
This story sounds fake, but it really happened. Stacey Castor looked like a normal suburban mom in upstate New York, but prosecutors say behind that image was a deadly double life. First, her husband died suddenly, and it was ruled a suicide. Years later, her second husband also died after drinking antifreeze hidden in a beverage. At first, it looked like another tragic loss. But here's where it gets crazy. Investigators started noticing patterns. 2 husbands, 2 suspicious deaths, and both had life insurance policies that benefited the same person. Police began digging deeper, and prosecutors say that's when everything unraveled. As suspicion grew, they alleged Stacy tried to shift blame by poisoning her own teenage daughter and staging a fake confession to make it look like her daughter was responsible. But her daughter survived and told police what happened. That moment changed everything. Stacy Castor was later convicted of murder and attempted murder, turning a quiet suburban case into one of the most chilling Black Widow stories in modern true crime. The real question is, how long can someone live a double life before the truth finally catches up?
Hatton Garden Heist. This one is straight out of a movie, but it really happened. In 2015, yes, old enough to be somebody's granddad, pulled off one of the most famous burglaries in modern UK history, and they hit the heart of London's jewelry district. This wasn't some quick smash and grab. This was a calculated, professional, slow-burn robbery that took planning, patience, and serious nerve. The target was the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company, a vault facility holding millions in cash, doing construction. They didn't rush. They worked their way through it, got inside, and cleaned out dozens of safe deposit boxes. By the time anyone realized what happened, the crew was already gone. Reports say the haul was worth around £14 million, though some believe the real number could have been higher because not everything stolen was officially reported. And that's where this story gets even crazier. The crew wasn't some young street crew looking for clout. These were seasoned criminals with decades of experience. They weren't chasing social media fame, they were chasing one last payday. That's why this case became legendary. The planning was old school, the execution was clean, and the suspects were literally senior citizens. But even with all that experience, mistakes got made. Investigators eventually pieced things together using surveillance, phone data, and forensic evidence. One of the biggest downfalls? The crew's communication and the fact that they had to move and stash that much high-value property after the job. That's always the problem with big heists. Getting away is one thing, but cashing out without getting caught is another. Multiple men were arrested and later convicted, and the case became known worldwide as the Old Men Heist. Some of the stolen goods were recovered, but a large chunk of the loot was never found, which means somebody, somewhere, still has a piece of that vault money sitting in the shadows. And the wildest part? Even after all the planning, the drilling, and the millions stolen, this heist proved the same rule still applies. The bigger the score, the hotter the heat.
In the 90s, Cartel de Solis was stood up by the CIA. This is no secret. I mean, this is the truth.
This is the cartel which Nicolas Maduro is said to be in charge of, but may be actually defunct. And you're confirming that it was set up by the CIA in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. This is not, we've known this for quite some time.
Jordan Guy McDonald Goudreau is a former U.S. Special Forces soldier turned private military contractor who now sits on the FBI's wanted list. Officially, he's wanted for failing to appear at a federal bond revocation hearing tied to serious weapons and export control charges. Prosecutors allege Goudreau illegally moved U.S. military-grade weapons and gear overseas, connected to a failed foreign operation that made international headlines. But here's where things get interesting. Goudreau didn't start as some random street figure. He moved in circles that don't usually freelance. Former special forces, private security contracts, international political players. At one point, he was openly speaking to media, claiming he believed his actions had unofficial backing, only to later find himself completely disowned. After his arrest and release on bond, Goudreau disappears before a key court hearing. Now the FBI wants him, offering a reward, calling him armed and dangerous. The question isn't just where is he? It's who stopped answering his calls when things went left. Was this just a rogue contractor? Or did someone decide he knew too much? If he's caught, What story gets told? Follow for more OC Street Files. We break down the paperwork and what's between the lines. Do you think Goudreau acted alone? Or was he cut loose when the mission failed? This wasn't a smash and grab. This was patience. In July 2022, a Brinks armored truck left a jewelry trade show near San Mateo, California, carrying bags filled with diamonds, gold, rubies, and luxury watches. Federal investigators say a crew followed that truck for nearly 300 miles down Interstate 5. They didn't rush it. They waited. When the truck stopped at a rest area in Lebec, California, the crew struck. No alarms, no violence, just timing. By the time authorities were alerted, 24 bags of jewelry worth an estimated $100 million were gone. Prosecutors later charged 7 men, saying this wasn't luck. It was organized surveillance, coordinated movement, and interstate planning. Some stolen items were recovered during raids, but most of the jewelry has never been found. This wasn't a robbery, this was a heist. OC Street Files, where street crime moves like business. What do you think? How many people does it really take to pull something like this off? Most Americans think the Federal Reserve is a government agency. It's not, and that's where the conspiracy begins. Created in 1913, the Federal Reserve is a privately structured central banking system with massive influence over interest rates, inflation, and the value of your money. Critics argue the Fed gives unelected officials power to create money out of debt, quietly transferring wealth from the public to banks and financial elites. Every time money is printed, inflation rises, and everyday people pay the price through higher rent, food, and gas. Meanwhile, major banks receive bailouts when they fail. Conspiracy theories claim the Federal Reserve is tied to powerful families, global banking interests, and long-term economic control, pointing to secret meetings, lack of transparency, and the fact that Congress doesn't directly control it. Supporters say it stabilizes the economy. Critics say it controls it. The real question isn't whether the Federal Reserve exists. It's who benefits from a system where money is borrowed into existence, and who's stuck paying it back. After World War II, the U.S. government quietly launched Operation Paperclip, a secret program designed to bring Nazi scientists into America before the Soviets could get them. On paper, it was about national security. In reality, it meant the U.S. overlooked war crimes to gain technological power. More than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and doctors were recruited. Their Nazi affiliations were often erased or paper-clipped out of their files. Some had been members of the SES. Others were tied to human experimentation and forced labor. Yet they were given new lives, jobs, and protection inside the United States. The most famous was Wernher von Braun, a former Nazi rocket scientist who later became a key figure in NASA and the U.S. space program. The rockets that helped put men on the moon were built on knowledge developed under Hitler's regime. Operation Paperclip raises a hard question. Did America win the Cold War by compromising its moral soul? And how many secrets were buried to protect that decision?
Operation Mockingbird was one of the CIA's most ambitious Cold War programs, and its goal was simple: influence the news. Starting in the late 1940s, the CIA secretly recruited journalists, editors, publishers, and even entire media organizations to help shape public opinion at home and abroad. According to declassified documents and the 1975 Church Committee hearings, Mockingbird involved hundreds of journalists working voluntarily or covertly with the agency. Some provided intelligence, others planted stories. Some helped suppress information the CIA didn't want published. Major newspapers, radio networks, and even foreign press outlets were quietly tied in. This wasn't just propaganda overseas. Mockingbird also influenced American news during key political and military events, including early Cold War conflicts and foreign coups. The idea was to control the narrative before the public ever heard it. By the mid-1970s, Congress exposed parts of the program, forcing the CIA to claim it ended the domestic operations. But critics say the legacy didn't disappear. It just evolved through new channels and partnerships. Whether you believe it's still happening or not, one thing is certain. Operation Mockingbird proved the news can be manipulated long before you ever see it.
In 1962, the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff approved one of the most shocking military proposals ever drafted. It was called Operation Northwoods, and the plan was simple. Create staged or fabricated attacks, blame them on Cuba, and use the chaos as justification to invade the island. The documents laid out scenarios like faking the shoot-down of an American plane, staging a boat of Cuban refugees being attacked at sea, planting bombs in U.S. cities, and even using friendly operatives to mimic terrorist acts on American soil. All of it would then be blamed on Fidel Castro to drum up public support for war. The proposal made it all the way to President Kennedy's desk, and he shut it down immediately. Historians later discovered the files when they were declassified in the 1990s, revealing how close the U.S. came to approving a false flag plan against its own citizens. Operation Northwoods didn't happen, but the documents prove it was real. And to this day, it's one of the clearest examples of how far government planners were willing to go during the Cold War.
Hollywood has a glamorous surface, but beneath the spotlight are some of the darkest trafficking cases ever exposed. Not rumors, documented convictions. One of the most high-profile was Harvey Weinstein, who used his power to coerce, threaten, and traffic women for sexual access across state lines. His conviction exposed an industry-wide culture of silence. Then there was NXIVM, the so-called self-help organization led by Keith Raniere. Several Hollywood actresses were involved, and prosecutors revealed a hidden sex trafficking cult where women were branded, controlled, and assigned to satisfy the leader. Another verified case involved producer Mark Collins Rector, who ran a digital entertainment company in the 1990s and was convicted of trafficking and abusing teenage boys tied to his Hollywood circle. These cases aren't conspiracy, they're federal court records, and each one shows how powerful figures used fame, influence, and opportunities to prey on vulnerable people who wanted careers. Hollywood isn't a trafficking ring, but trafficking has happened inside Hollywood. And every time a case breaks open, it exposes how predators hide behind the lights, the money, and the fame. Follow for more.
Hollywood isn't just glitz and glam, it's scams too. Remember Anna Delvey, the fake heiress who scammed New York's elite and turned her courtroom into a Netflix deal? Or producers running Ponzi schemes off celebrity connections? These scams are as much entertainment as the movies themselves. Social media made Anna a star, not for her talent, but for her ability to hustle the system. The truth is, audiences love crime stories when they look like luxury lifestyles. That's the new Hollywood hustle. Scam your way into fame, then go viral when you get caught. What's the craziest scam you've heard of in Hollywood or your own city? Drop it in the comments and follow OC Street Files Buzz for more.
Have you heard of the secret NATO operation that built underground armies across Europe and may have staged terrorist attacks to control politics? After World War II, Western intelligence feared one thing more than anything else: Soviet invasion. So they created something secret, Operation Gladio. It started as a stay-behind network, underground agents trained to fight communism if the USSR ever invaded Europe. Funded and guided by the CIA and NATO, these hidden armies existed in countries like Italy, Belgium, and Germany. But somewhere along the way, the mission blurred. Whispers emerged that Gladio operatives went rogue, influencing elections, manipulating fear, and even staging bombings blamed on the left to sway public opinion. In Italy's years of lead, terror attacks like the 1980 Bologna train bombing were linked by investigators to Gladio-connected groups. When the operation was exposed in the early 1990s, NATO denied direct control, calling it a Cold War relic. But documents and testimonies told a darker story, one where democracy itself was the weapon. Do you think Gladio was national defense or state-sponsored terror? Drop your theory below.